Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Step up your grill game with new seasonings from Coy's Southern Eats. Based off famous Southern recipes, our seasonings will add what's been missing to your family's feast. Add it to steak, chicken, shrimp, you name it. Serving up these fixings is going to make you the hero at home. So head on over to coyssoutherneats.com and order yours today. Come get you some.
Well, everybody, welcome to the Hogville.net Razorback post-game show presented by Coy's Southern Eats. Go and check out all of their great products for your tailgate or your cookout and go re-experience and reimagine the magic of Coy's and come get you some. Well, I'm going to tell you what, y'all. It was a pretty hard pill to swallow today because, Arkansas had a chance going into the game to possibly get bowl eligible. And let's not even talk about that now because honestly, from the get-go, it seemed like Arkansas was behind the 8 ball. And honestly, Drake, I feel like they've let go of the rope now.
Yeah, for sure. I would say about this game is just downright disappointing. Disappointing for, I'll say I'm pretty disappointed. You probably are too, but I'm mostly, disappointed for the state of Arkansas, their fans, and even these players. It was, today, I don't think anybody thought that we were going to get beat by 38 points in our own house. I think disappointment would just be the best way I would describe today.
You had Jacoby Criswell in the fourth quarter lead the Razorbacks down for a touchdown, which, by the way, that was the first touchdown the offense has scored in the state of Arkansas since the third quarter of the BYU game, which is downright disappointing. These fans spend their hard-earned money on tickets, travel, food, fuel, staying in hotels. That's not including tailgating. And for them to have this type of a showing, it's just downright pitiful. It really is. And a lot of these fans are walking out of here. They're dejected. They understand that the Razorbacks are their team, but at the same time, it's hard to swallow. And with the offense and the way it was last week, I think that's what the hardest part of this pill to swallow is that you had an offense that scored 39 points, took Florida to overtime, get their first win at the Swamp in program history, and turn around. And I feel like it was a redo of the Mississippi State game from 3 weeks ago, sorry. And you can't keep having these types of performances at home. They've performed well on the road, and I hate to say it that way because they have played each opponent so far, except for A&M, close. You look at Ole Miss, you look at Alabama, you also look at LSU. They played them close. They come here and then it's like a free for all on the defensive side of the ball. I thought the defense was going to have a little bit more, I guess, push, but tonight I felt like they just said, you know what, we can only do so much, and tonight this just happened to be that night.
Yeah, I that was definitely not the defense we've seen, through the last 10 weeks now, I guess it is. Um, just right away, just couldn't stop the run, couldn't necessarily stop the pass. Let me see. I think they gave up a total of 354 yards rushing,
Gosh.
517 yards total offense. That's not the defense we've seen all year.
No, that's very reminiscent of Chad Morris's last year here whenever Auburn came in and they ran roughshod over the Razorbacks here at Razorback Stadium. And 517 yards of total offense for Auburn to Arkansas's 255. Arkansas had 135 yards passing. That's split between KJ and also Jacoby Criswell, rushing only 120 yards. And this is probably the biggest stat that points out to me is Arkansas had 10 first downs to Auburn's 32. That is a difference of 22 first downs. That is how bad this offense is right now. And you can't really put lipstick on a pig, really. I hate to put it that way, but that's the truth at this point, because this performance just stunk tonight.
Yeah, last week at Florida, I felt like if they came in today and played like they did at Florida, they would put up more than 10 points on the board. So super frustrating, and back to what I said, disappointing. Last week, I think a lot of the Arkansas fans saw what they thought the Arkansas offense should have looked like all year, and then come around this week back to pretty much square one.
Yeah,
pretty much looked like they've looked most of the year.
The offense looked revitalized last week. They looked like they wanted to perform not only for Kenny Guyton, but also for Sam Pitman, wanting to perform on the road, getting their first win at the Swamp, like I said earlier, ever. And now they turn around and come home and they lay not only the first, but the second consecutive egg on the offense. Against BYU, there was some offense, and I feel like the tailspin started for them at home in that fourth quarter starting in the BYU game, and then just perpetuated itself from here, or to this point, I should say. And it's tough. It's tough to swallow. Arkansas only had 52 plays in the game, 52 to Auburn's 76, and you can't have that type of performance where you're limiting yourself on the amount of chances that you have to drive the ball down the field. First three series, I was looking to see if there was any, I guess, if you will, kind of like what happened with Dan Enos, where you started to see where run, pass. Well, guess what? That's what happened. The first two series were run, pass. And it's kind of like Auburn kind of knew exactly what was going to happen. I wanted to see if Kenny Guyton was able to make some adjustments, from first to second quarter after them getting smoked 21-3 after the first quarter. And I felt like the offense, they really didn't make an adjustment from that first to second quarter, more or less after halftime.
Oh, most definitely. I believe in the first half they had three. Well, the first three drives, I believe, were three straight 3-and-outs.
Yeah.
Again, that's not what I would have expected, compared to last weekend. And then, like you said, second half came around and really didn't make much adjustment at all. Run, pass, 3-and-out, 5 plays, punt, or 6 plays, punt, whatever it was. Just overall, just downright, just not fun to watch, I guess you could say.
You had a spot there in the second quarter where Arkansas was at a 4th and 1, which, by the way, I understand the fans were frustrated whenever Sam elected to punt the first 3 series. You can't go for it on 4th and 1 with the way that this offense has performed this year and expect to see KJ and that offensive line get a first down deep in their own territory. It's just not going to happen. And I feel like some fans also needed to kind of sit back. I don't know if it was the fact that they were booing Sam for not going for it or just booing in general. The entire way that this offensive scheme was set up the first 3 series, I almost kind of felt like the fans were wanting more, and they weren't getting more. They were getting, I don't know, a half-career performance in the first, for sure. I mean, the first half at least, you saw them come out with a little bit of fire after the first half. I wanted to see if they had a chance to sit down, get in their position groups, and talk about what they were seeing offensively to make those changes. And I feel like they really didn't, Barry.
No, definitely not at all. Especially if you can only score 1 touchdown, I guess, the remaining of the game.
Yeah.
Really not a whole lot of adjustment, I would say, on the offensive side. Excuse me, on the offensive side going into the second half, I guess I would say the defense kind of maybe looked a little better, but still they were still getting gashed on that side. I don't know. You would think you would see something a little bit different coming in that second half from the offensive side. But like you said, pretty much the same thing.
Yep. Also, too, if you guys are getting on here on Facebook, make sure to put all the information in there that you need to, so that your moniker does pop up, so we can see who we're talking to is over here on the side. I do want to put on here from View Mix, right, really quick. Arkansas is broken. Nothing is going to save Pitman. I don't disagree with you at this point. If Arkansas and the offense were able to keep it close, you can't give up a punt return for a touchdown to put yourself behind the 8 ball by 2 scores almost instantly in the first quarter. That takes the wind out of most teams' sails. This team does not play from behind. This team has always played from either even or ahead. That's not the DNA of this offense, for at least this year. Last year, maybe there was more firepower that they were able to use, but this year they don't have it, especially on the outside edges with the wide receivers, because let's face it, they're slow. Yeah. They're not as fast as, you have an Isaiah Satania, for instance, that hasn't been utilized as much as I think some fans want to see, because he's got the speed to be able to create mismatches with safeties. It's not. He had one. He had that one good catch. He had that one great catch that was a skinny post down the middle of the field that set up. Well, it didn't set up any scores, unfortunately. And
I think we fumbled maybe the next play.
The next play was the rocket fumble that they returned. He got punched out. The only score that was set up in the first half was by the defense, which was another interception by McLaughlin. And that's just, I don't want to say that's just how it is, but that's just something that unfortunately is not there now. So Sam Pitman, he's on the podium right now. I'm going to be very intrigued to see exactly how his demeanor is. I don't want to say it's defensive, but right now it's more explanatory, which is what we've kind of seen over the last few weeks. And so I kind of want to see what the media has to say to him and see exactly where he leads them with some of the answers. Because honestly, I mean, you hear what he says, and it's sort of true on where he kind of falls as far as the dominoes go and what he's going to do. Because you saw with Dan, whenever he was fired, they directly asked him, "Are you going to make a change at the offensive coordinator position?" And he was very quick to answer, "I don't want to talk about that right now."
Yeah.
So now my next question is, do they ask him, what do you think you can do to save your job? What does a conversation with you and Hunter Yurachek look like? Is that going to be tomorrow? Is that going to be at the end of the season? We don't know yet. And that's one of the things that I'm very curious to see over the next 48 hours.
Certainly. Yeah, and kind of like what you're saying, about the season. It's like at this point, there's no postseason hope really. No bowl game. So now we're just kind of playing for wins, playing for your name, playing for your state. I don't know. I don't see that necessarily helping us or helping them necessarily win. I believe you could beat FIU next weekend, but I don't know about Missouri coming down in here.
Well, my thing is that what prevents this offense from not performing like they did against Kent State at the first of the year, where it was a close game up until the very end of the fourth quarter against with a lesser opponent, against an offense that really made that Kent State defense look stellar. And quite honestly, that's not the talent level that this offense has in the locker room. That's what's frustrating. Also, Eddie Butler, I said, I feel sick and I can't afford to fire a coach. I don't know why they won't play at home. Well, honestly, the schedule is dictated by the SEC. Did they get screwed this year? Yeah, they got screwed as far as the schedule goes, with having the four games on the road, home game, then another road game. But I will say this: Auburn had the same luck too. The only difference is that they played Georgia instead of Alabama on the road. They had 4 straight. They had A&M. They had LSU. And then they also had Ole Miss. Those were all 4 losses, including the Georgia game. And that's where I kind of felt like Auburn and Arkansas kind of mirrored each other. And that's why I was intrigued by the matchup. I was almost interested to see exactly how that was going to go, because I was talking with AP Stedham on Thursday, and he agreed with me that the makeup of both of these teams up to this point were fairly similar. And with having struggles at quarterback, having struggles at running back, struggling with injuries, offensive line that was having problems getting pushed in the middle, it was exactly like what Arkansas has seen. Hugh Freeze did not make an offensive coordinator change because he felt like it was in the right direction. And today you saw that.
Yeah. Sorry. I think the Colts messed with me a little bit.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. And I said this last week when we were talking about Florida, or when we played Florida going into playing Auburn. I said, I think this would be, a similar matchup between the Razorbacks and the Tigers. Auburn's defense, they have a stellar defense, pretty comparable to Arkansas's. They're both, very well kind of been like the heart and soul of both teams. And then had both offenses that have had so that's why it made me believe okay, going into this week, Arkansas, got a good chance, maybe win close.
Yeah.
Not lose by 38 at home. So
I turned to Dudley at the very first of the game, right at kickoff, and I looked at the crowd. Now, the picture that I posted on Hogville's Facebook page was about 20 minutes before kickoff. There was a lot of folks that did funnel in the last 20 minutes, and Otis's picture was more indicative of what the actual attendance looked like at game time than mine did. So I want to put that disclaimer out there. But I looked at Dudley at kickoff, and I said, this crowd does not look like a 3-6 crowd. This looks like a 6-3 crowd, maybe a 5-4 crowd, with the hopes of being able to get past the finish line and getting bowl eligible. But it didn't happen. But we're going to go to a quick break here in just for a moment. And then when we come back, we're going to look around the scores at the SEC and then look ahead to FIU. And this is the Hogville.net YouTube Live Razorback post-game show presented by Coy Southern Eats.
Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Step up your grill game with new seasonings from Coy's Southern Eats. Based off famous Southern recipes, our seasonings will add what's been missing to your family's feast. Add it to steak, chicken, shrimp, you name it. Serving up these fixings is going to make you the hero at home. So head on over to coyssoutherneats.com and order yours today. Come get you some.
All right, and we're back. Thank you all for still tuning in. I know that it's been a pretty rough go this evening. For Razorback fans, again, Arkansas loses a heartbreaker to Auburn and heartbreaker in the fact that the Razorbacks did not perform like you were expecting them to perform home to Auburn, 48-10. Looking around the SEC, Alabama took care of business today against Kentucky. SEC game day was there, and had Mark Stoops and had all that fanfare going on, but they ended up falling to Alabama 49-21. Now, I will say this, that game was a lot closer than it was the final score. At one point, Alabama was only up 28-14, and then they pretty much boat raced Kentucky after that, going on a 21-7 run there to close out the game. South Carolina and Shane Beamer got back on track against Vanderbilt, 47-6. I know that there's been some questions also about the life expectancy of Shane Beamer at South Carolina with the season that they've had. You felt like with Spencer Rattler coming in his second season with South Carolina, being able to see some SEC gunfire, that they might have a better chance, a better record than they did last year. So they did get the win back on track against Vanderbilt. The one game today that really shocked me and then really kind of stood out was Missouri-Tennessee. Missouri went and put their foot on the throat of Josh Heupel in Tennessee. And Tennessee went in there and walked into a hornet's nest. Missouri ended up just smoking them 36-7. That was a huge statement win, really, for Eli Drinkowitz, because the last time that Missouri, Drake, had that type of a statement win was when Gary Pinkel was there. Yeah. And that you have to think about it now. Drink's been there for 4 years, and then you had Barry Odom that was there for 3.5 years, and so it's been 7.5 years since Missouri has had a statement win like this. And so I hate to say it, but it looks like Drink is on the trend up in the SEC East. And I mean, you look at Courtney Crutchfield. He had decommitted from Arkansas right before the Florida game last week, and it looks like he might end up going to Missouri. And there's a couple of other players here in the state of Arkansas.
Brian Huff.
Yeah, Brian Huff, also linebacker, defensive back. Sorry, that might be going to Missouri as well. As you can see, all the fans. And thank you for the horns down. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Anytime.
And no matter how bad it gets here at Arkansas, you can never find somebody that's not willing to go horns down, y'all. So that's always, it's all just how bad it is. You always still hate Texas. So currently right now with 10:39 left in the first quarter, you've got Georgia and Ole Miss squaring up, and Ole Miss has got a 7-0 lead over Georgia. Lane Kiffin does not shy away from big games like this. He's got 2 wins over Nick Saban. He's going after Kirby Smart tonight. He's got the second most wins against Nick Saban on active coach here in the SEC. The one with Gus Malzahn has got 3, but Lane Kiffin's got 2, and he's going after, like I said, Kirby Smart tonight. So then you've got Florida and LSU tonight. They're tangling up at 6:30. That'll be on SEC Network. And then the late game tonight, also at 6:30 on ESPN2, is Mississippi State at Texas A&M. That's another coaching possible change you might see because, again, you've got Jimbo Fisher not living up to the hype of that $10 million a year contract that he's getting right now.
Yeah, and I saw something recently that I think Jimbo Fisher actually has a worse record than Kevin Sumlin did, which is saying something. And I think it's only by a couple of losses, but still, you're paying a man $10 million where you could have just paid the other man to do the same.
Exactly. And so let's look ahead really quick before we get out of here. You got Arkansas FIU next week, 6:30 p.m. And my first question is, what's the fan base going to look like and the turnout for a 6:30 game against a non-conference opponent with all your bowl hopes dashed? You got a losing season, and at what point is there any incentive to go to a football game other than just to show up to be a fan?
Not much. I'll tell you that. Maybe it'll fill out okay. It is a 6:30 game. It gives people enough time to party, I guess, and tailgate. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't necessarily see it maybe half full. I don't know. I don't think there's much incentive of going unless you're just wanting to watch the Razorbacks play.
I think that you're going to catch a lot of local traffic. I think you're
For
going to
sure.
catch some local folks that are not able to go to Razorback games on the norm, and
Like
you're
cheaper
going to
tickets.
cheaper tickets, and you can probably go find those at third-party markets right now. There's not a lot of demand by no means of by no stretch of the imagination, and you're not going to have a lot of folks from Central Arkansas that are going to be willing to drive up 4 hours for a night game, spend the night, food, gas, all that goes into it, like we talked about earlier, and also show up to a half-empty stadium. So, like I said, I want to see exactly what. Oh goodness! So, looking right now, there are tickets right now on upper level as low as $4 a shot.
So if you want a bargain,
Yeah, there you go.
yes.
What are the lower level? What are the lower levels looking like right now?
I bet they're 50.
So, right around $50. I have a good
Some 20.
some 20. So
if you're sitting on the 50, you're sitting in a corner like 20.
So there are some opportunities for folks that usually don't go to games to score some cheap tickets, show up maybe for the half, go home.
Go to Dixon Street. I don't know.
And so make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel here. I do want to say thank you to everybody that's out there that does follow us, that do subscribe. Just recently, we eclipsed the 2,000 subscription mark. I feel that is extremely important since we started more regularly putting on shows, and
Really, like just the beginning of the football season, kind of.
at the beginning of the season, we were at right around 1,600. Now we're over that 2,000 mark. So we've gained about 20%, and not only we gained that 20%, we did that with a so far 3-7 season. So that says a lot about you guys and wanting to tune in and watch us do what we're doing, and we really appreciate that.
Greatly. Thank you.
I mean, it could be a scene where, like from The Water Boy, where the SCLSU Mud Dogs had 5 people in the stands.
Yeah.
And, we have 5 people watching, but we got 14
Just need a
live.
Just need a Bobby Boucher.
Exactly. I don't know if I'm going to be that Bobby Boucher. You can.
I don't know.
If you can,
Depends what my mama says.
if you all can find some Gators out there, we'll fry them up with you too. Yeah. So, all right. Well, for Drake and myself, Jason, I want to thank you guys for jumping on with us. And this has been the Razorback postgame show on Hogville.net YouTube Live, presented by Coy Southern Eats. Be sure tomorrow to tune in tomorrow at 3 p.m. for the Razorback Football Report with Otis Kirk. Also, the Razorback Diamond Report with Dudley Dawson. We got a lot of women's basketball we're going to talk about. We got Mike Neighbors, and he's 2-0 in the season, but he's had a little bit of slip as far as gaining big leads and then letting them go in the middle into the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, and the games being more competitive probably than what he was wanting them to be. So Dudley's going to talk more about that tomorrow. We'll see you guys tomorrow again. Like I said, 3 o'clock with Otis, 4:30 with Dudley, and then Wednesday night, at 7 p.m. with myself and Marty Houston. So for Drake Pretty and myself, Jason Patterson, I want to thank you guys for jumping on, and this has been the Razorback postgame show.
Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Step up your grill game with new seasonings from Cloy's Southern Eats. Based off famous Southern recipes, our seasonings will add what's been missing to your family's feast. Add it to steak, chicken, shrimp, you name it. Serving up these fixings is going to make you the hero at home. So head on over to CoysSouthernEats.com and order yours today. Come get you some.